At this very moment, in the deepest, darkest trenches of our planet, something is emerging from the abyss that has scientists questioning everything they thought they knew about life itself. In just the last few months of 2026, researchers have stumbled upon creatures so bizarre, so utterly alien in their design, that they don't belong in any textbook written before this year. And the terrifying part? We're only just beginning to scratch the surface of what's actually down there. The numbers alone are staggering. In a single year, just 12 months, scientists identified over 1,121 new marine species. 1,000. Let that sink in. Not over decades, not over centuries. In just 365 days. That's an average of 3 new species discovered every single day. But these aren't just variations on fish we already knew about. These are entirely new branches of life. Creatures that have evolved in total isolation from the sunlit world above, developing characteristics that seem to defy the laws of nature as we understand them. The expeditions have been relentless. In June of 2026, an international team of scientists aboard the Schmidt Ocean Institute's research vessel, the Falkor, descended into the waters off the Brazilian coast. What they found in just 2 weeks of exploration would have taken decades to discover using traditional methods. 31 new species emerged from the darkness. Jellyfish with silhouettes that look pulled from nightmares, comb jellies that refract light in ways that shouldn't be biologically possible, siphonophores, creatures that are technically colonies pretending to be individual organisms, tadpole-like larvae, gossamer worms so delicate they appear to be made of glass, and crustaceans. So many crustaceans, each one adapted to crushing pressures that would obliterate any surface-dwelling creature in milliseconds. But that's just the beginning. Japan launched its own deep-sea expedition, and in a single mission to Japan's underwater domain, researchers confirmed 38 additional new species. Australia's research vessels pushed into previously unexplored zones and found entire ecosystems existing at depths where we thought life couldn't possibly thrive. The Coral Sea revealed ghost sharks, creatures that have barely changed in nearly 400 million years, predating the dinosaurs themselves. These chimeras, as scientists formally call them, are distant relatives of sharks and rays, but they evolved along a completely different path. They are living fossils, unchanged monuments to an ancient world. Then there's what researchers are calling the Hadal Zone expansion. This is the ultra-deep trench system, depths beyond 9,000 meters where the pressure is so intense that it would crush a human body to the size of a marble. Scientists thought life there was sparse, limited. A few hardy bacteria, maybe some specialized worms, but what they're finding suggests entire civilizations of organisms thriving in conditions we considered impossibly hostile. The deeper they look, the more life they find, the more complex it becomes, the more we realize how little we actually know. Consider the death ball sponge, found near the South Sandwich Islands. At a depth of 11,814 feet, this organism represents an evolutionary puzzle that has marine biologists struggling to explain. Unlike traditional sponges, which passively filter water and absorb microscopic organisms, the death ball sponge is a predator. Its entire spherical body is covered in thousands of tiny hooks. Microscopic harpoons evolved specifically to ensnare small crustaceans as they drift through the water column. Once prey is caught in this biological trap, the sponge does something even more disturbing. It slowly wraps itself around the captured organism, producing a digestive membrane that absorbs the creature from the outside in. This isn't scavenging. This isn't passive feeding. This is active, calculated predation. In an environment where every calorie is precious, where food is an absolute rarity, nature has engineered a living net of death to ensure survival. The sponge represents only one branch of these discoveries. There's the giant phantom jellyfish. Imagine descending through 820 feet of black ocean water, your submersible's lights cutting through the absolute darkness, and suddenly you encounter a creature roughly the size of the world's largest Ferris wheel, translucent, ghost-like, moving through the water with a grace that seems impossible for something so massive. This jellyfish exists in a space between the sunlit surface and the deep abyss, the twilight zone of the ocean, where just enough light penetrates to create an eerie, perpetual dusk. Yet the jellyfish thrives there, moving through currents invisible to our instruments, hunting creatures we have no names for. What makes these discoveries even more profound is the sheer speed at which scientists are now identifying them. Traditionally, describing a new species could take decades. A researcher would collect a specimen, bring it to the surface, preserve it, study it, compare it to known species, sequence its genetics, and then publish findings. That's a process measured in years. But the technological revolution happening right now has compressed that timeline to something almost incomprehensible. During the Brazil expedition, the research team sequenced genomes from collected specimens directly on board the vessel while still at sea. Within days, not months, not years, They could confirm entirely new species. The combination of remotely operated vehicles equipped with high-resolution cameras, robotic arms capable of delicate manipulation in crushing pressure, and portable genetic sequencing labs has fundamentally changed deep-sea research. The remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, are marvels of engineering. The Sebastian, used extensively in these recent expeditions, is essentially a robotic surfer riding the currents of the abyss. Its cameras capture details so fine that researchers can observe the cellular-level structures of creatures in real time. Its robotic arms can manipulate delicate organisms with surprising gentleness, collecting specimens without destruction. These vehicles have become extensions of human perception, allowing us to witness things that our eyes could never directly observe. They're not invading the deep ocean. They're opening a dialogue between two completely separate worlds. The midwater zone, that region of the ocean between the sunlit layer and the seafloor, is being recognized as something extraordinary. It is Earth's largest habitable ecosystem, yet it remains less explored than the surface of Mars. We've sent rovers to the Red Planet, we've photographed its canyons and analyzed its soil composition, yet the midwater zone, home to the largest concentration of biomass on our planet, remains a frontier we're only now beginning to comprehend. Think about that. Right now, at this very moment, there are more organisms living in the twilight waters between the sunlight and the deep abyss than exist in all the rainforests on land combined. And we're only just discovering what they are. The implications are staggering. If 1,000 species can be discovered in a single year, how many species have we never seen? How many more exist in zones we haven't yet explored? Some scientists estimate that the true number of marine species on Earth could be a multiple of what we currently believe. Some models suggest that we might have identified as little as 10% of all ocean life. That means 90% of the creatures inhabiting Earth's oceans remain unknown to science. 90%. What are the ecological implications of such vast numbers of undiscovered organisms? What roles do these creatures play in nutrient cycles we don't fully understand? The deep ocean isn't isolated from the surface world. There's a constant exchange of materials. Dead organisms sinking from above, nutrients rising from below. Every species discovered raises new questions about how this invisible system functions. The amphipod crustaceans recently identified, for instance, come in multiple varieties. Some are scavengers, playing vital roles in recycling nutrients. Some are predators, hunting worms and smaller invertebrates. Some are parasites. Each one fills a specific niche in an ecosystem that we're only beginning to map. The sponges alone represent an entire kingdom of discovery. Scientists have found 21 new sponge species thriving on polymetallic nodules. Those strange metal formations that cover parts of the seafloor in crusty abundance. These nodules are prized by mining companies, with deep-sea mining operations being considered as a new frontier for resource extraction. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Every organism discovered in the deep ocean carries implications for a debate that's quietly happening in the corridors of international governance. Should we mine these depths? Should we extract minerals from an ecosystem we barely understand? The ancient history of life on Earth suggests something crucial. When humans encounter an ecosystem we don't understand, our interventions often cause catastrophic damage. The coral reefs of the shallow ocean are bleaching at unprecedented rates due to climate change and warming waters. We're only just beginning to restore them, to understand what went wrong. The deep ocean represents a second chance, a complex ecosystem existing in near-perfect isolation from human interference. If we mine it before understanding it, if we extract resources without comprehending the consequences, we might destroy an entire world of life before we even know it exists. The research initiative driving much of this discovery work is called the Ocean Census. Its ambitious goal is staggering, formally describe 1,000 new species by 2030. We're at roughly 11% of the way through that goal, and we're already uncovering entire new families of organisms, not just new species, but new branches of the evolutionary tree. Finding a new superfamily, a category of life higher in the taxonomic hierarchy than species, is an event that might happen once in a researcher's lifetime. This year, the Ocean Census has found multiple. It's as if we're discovering not just new leaves on a tree, but entire branches, entire limbs of evolution we never knew existed. The international collaboration driving these discoveries is itself remarkable. Teams of specialists from universities across the world have gathered for taxonomy workshops where they collectively identify and describe new species. The University of Lodz in Poland hosted one such workshop where 16 specialists spent a week focusing exclusively on identifying amphipod crustaceans. Their work contributed to the Nippon Foundation's Nekton Ocean Census and the Sustainable Seabed Knowledge Initiative. This is coordinated global science, an international effort to catalog life before we inadvertently destroy it through mining, pollution, or climate-driven changes. But the question that keeps returning, the one that haunts marine biologists working on these expeditions, is simple. Why now? Why are we discovering thousands of new species all at once? The answer isn't that the deep ocean suddenly became full of new life. The answer is that we finally developed the technology to see it. For centuries, the deep ocean was a realm of pure imagination. Jules Verne wrote about it. Sailors spoke of strange creatures and inexplicable phenomena, but we couldn't verify any of it. We couldn't see it directly. We could only speculate. Now, with ROVs equipped with high-definition cameras, with genetic sequencers, with pressure-resistant equipment designed to function at crushing depths, we're finally able to open our eyes to an entire world that's been living right beneath us. The creatures themselves tell a story of adaptation so extreme that it challenges our understanding of biology. Some organisms living in total darkness have evolved bioluminescence. They create their own light, but not all bioluminescence is the same. Some creatures use it for hunting, illuminating prey. Some use it for communication, flashing complex patterns that might constitute a language we can't yet decode. Some might use it for something we haven't even considered yet, because the behaviors of deep-sea organisms remain largely mysterious, despite our recent discoveries. The pressures these creatures withstand are difficult to conceptualize for those of us who've never experienced it. At the deepest points in the ocean, the pressure is over 11,000 pounds per square inch. That's equivalent to having several elephants standing on every square inch of your body. Yet creatures thrive there. Their cell membranes have evolved to remain fluid under these crushing pressures. Their proteins function under conditions that would denature proteins in surface-dwelling organisms. Their entire biochemistry operates by different rules. Temperature compounds these challenges. In the deep ocean, water temperatures hover just above freezing. Most of these creatures live in perpetual cold, their metabolisms slowed to a crawl. Yet they hunt, they reproduce, they compete for resources. They've evolved sensory systems adapted to minimal light, some using chemoreceptors to detect the faintest trails of organic molecules in the water, others using lateral line systems that detect the slightest pressure changes caused by moving prey. The discovery of so many new species raises profound questions about marine conservation and environmental protection. We're at a moment where we can still choose how to interact with these ecosystems. We can pursue sustainable exploration, discovering life while minimizing damage. Or we can choose extraction, harvesting the resources of the abyss for human profit. The window for making that choice responsibly, before we destroy what we've only just discovered, might be rapidly closing. Scientists working on these expeditions describe a sense of urgency that's different from the urgency they felt in previous decades. Climate change is affecting even the deep ocean. Warming waters are altering currents. Oxygen levels in mid-range depths are changing. Dead zones are expanding. The stable, unchanging world of the deep ocean is becoming less stable. Species adapted to specific conditions might find those conditions shifting. Ecosystems that have remained virtually unchanged for millions of years might be thrown into chaos by changes we're driving from the surface. The genetic sequencing work being conducted on these new species is revealing unexpected relationships. Some creatures that appear completely different to our eyes are actually closely related genetically. Others that look similar are distant cousins in the evolutionary tree. These genetic revelations are forcing marine biologists to completely redraw their understanding of how ocean life is organized, how different species relate to one another, and how evolution has shaped the deep sea. One of the most intriguing aspects of these discoveries is the realization that we still don't know what's down there in the true abyss. The deepest points, the trenches exceeding 10,000 meters, remain barely explored. Only a handful of manned expeditions have ever reached Mariana Trench, the deepest ocean point on Earth. Remotely operated vehicles have explored more extensively, but still, the deepest trenches remain largely unmapped. If we're finding thousands of new species in the regions we've recently started exploring, what might exist in the zones we haven't reached yet? The bioluminescent organisms deserve special consideration. In an environment where darkness is absolute, light becomes a powerful tool. Some organisms use bioluminescence as a lure. The anglerfish, already well known to science, dangles a bioluminescent appendage in front of its mouth, attracting prey that are then consumed. But the newly discovered creatures might use light in ways we haven't yet understood. Perhaps some use it for startling predators. Perhaps some use patterns of light for mating displays. Perhaps some create elaborate light shows for purposes entirely foreign to our understanding of animal behavior. The crustaceans being discovered, particularly the amphipods, show remarkable diversity. Some species are larger than expected, with evolutionary pressures apparently favoring size in certain deep-sea niches. Others remain microscopic, filling ecological roles that might be invisible to us even with our modern equipment. The discovery of 24 new amphipod species in a single taxonomy workshop suggests that there might be hundreds more waiting to be formally identified and described. What strikes most marine biologists about these discoveries is the sense that we're witnessing evolution in action, seeing the results of millions of years of adaptation to extreme conditions, all compressed into suddenly visible reality. Each creature represents an experiment conducted by nature, a solution to the problem of surviving in an environment that seems designed to prevent life. And yet, life thrives there. Life not only survives, but diversifies, evolving into dozens of different forms to exploit every possible niche. The research vessels themselves have become floating laboratories, equipped with technology that would have seemed like science fiction just 2 decades ago. Scientists collect specimens and can analyze their genetics while still at sea. They can observe behaviors and take detailed photographs. They can measure environmental conditions, temperature, salinity, oxygen levels, pressure. They're building data sets that will take years to fully analyze. Every expedition brings back terabytes of data, thousands of specimens, hundreds of hours of video footage. The research will continue long after the vessels return to port. But there's a shadow hanging over all of this discovery work. The same technological advancement that's allowing us to explore the deep ocean is also making deep sea mining economically viable. Companies are eyeing the polymetallic nodules, the hydrothermal vent fields, the seamounts where unique organisms concentrate. These resources have value. They contain rare earth elements needed for batteries, electronics, renewable energy systems. The pressure to exploit these resources is real and growing. Every species we discover could theoretically be living on land someone believes they own, somewhere someone has already filed claims for mining rights. This is the urgency driving the ocean census. This is why scientists around the world are coordinating to describe 1,000 species by 2030. Because once we know these species exist, once they're formally documented, they can't simply be erased in the pursuit of profit. There's power in naming something, in scientifically recognizing its existence. It's a race against time to catalog the deep ocean before we start mining it. The creatures that have been discovered recently represent millions of years of evolutionary history. Some of these species might be ancient lineages, groups that diverged from other organisms in Earth's distant past, existing in the deep ocean while massive evolutionary changes happened in the surface world. The ghost sharks that predate dinosaurs represent living evidence of an ancient Earth. These creatures have survived 5 mass extinction events. They've watched empires of life rise and fall. They've adapted to climate shifts, to asteroid impacts, to the slow transformation of Earth's conditions. And now they face a threat they've never encountered before: human demand for resources. The deep ocean is often described as an alien world, and that description isn't metaphorical. The conditions there are so extreme, so different from the surface world, that the creatures inhabiting it might as well be extraterrestrial. If we discovered such an ecosystem on another planet, we would protect it fiercely. We would recognize its value as a natural laboratory of life, a chance to understand how biology functions under radically different conditions. Yet here, on our own planet, these ecosystems remain underprotected, their futures uncertain. As we stand in 2026, watching scientists emerge from the depths with new creature after new creature, each one stranger than the last, each one representing a piece of evolutionary history we never knew existed, the question becomes urgent and immediate. What will we do with this knowledge? Will we use it to protect these ecosystems, to establish marine reserves, to restrict mining in the most ecologically sensitive areas? Or will we allow the economic pressures to override the scientific imperative to preserve what we've only just discovered? The deep ocean has emerged from mystery into visibility. The creatures living in absolute darkness have been brought into the light. The question is what we do now that we can see them. The answer will determine not just the fate of thousands of species we've only recently discovered, but the fate of the largest, least explored ecosystem on our planet. And time is running out to make that choice wisely.